transition, I mean, we always hear that about child actors, you know, making that transition, and so many of them falling off the beaten path. How did you stay true? Like, how did you kind of stay out of, you know, falling into any of those other traps that some of the other child stars have gotten into?
Well, not so fast. I could still get in trouble tomorrow. Yeah, I went to public school. You know, I played Little League Baseball. I played Youth League Basketball. My parents were really adamant about me having both a normal childhood and then having what I want also. I was offered a series regular on a show, and we turned it down because it was Little League season. And like, I don't know how many, you know, parents could put aside that, you know, money figure to, you know, for, you know, their child's happiness. I think a lot of people wouldn't want to think they would do that, but my parents actually did that, you know, and kudos to them. I think it's, when it comes down to child actors, it's, kids are innocent, you know, they're clay being molded. I think it's about the parents, really. You know, I'm really lucky. I have two great parents, and they were supportive of my decisions, and if I wanted to act, you know, at that point, they were like, go ahead, do it. If I wanted to take off time to play baseball, basketball, whatever I wanted to do, they were cool with that. You know, they just wanted me to be happy. After every movie, they're like, are you still happy doing this? Okay, good. You know, and I'm really lucky for that. So I can't really take too much credit on that. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard transition, obviously. You know, acting's really, you know, hard to get jobs. It's hard to get work. When I was little, I hit a stride. It was like boom, 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 and I worked constantly. Never took it for granted at all, but I've seen both sides of it now, where everyone wanted to meet with me, everyone wanted to have me in their, you know, project. And then now, it's like, I go in there and I fight, you know, tooth and nail for everything now. I go and I audition against someone who has one credit, you know, and I'm not mad about it. I want to show people what I can do now, but, you know, it's really rough, and like I said, if you don't love something like this, like love it, it's really not worth doing it. Because if you want to be rich, there's a million other careers where that's more likely to happen. If you want to be famous, you know, you can go be famous in other ways, because it is, you know, it's a rough industry, and it's one of those things where the best thing is to not take it personally. You know, I think that I've been guilty of it, honestly, and where you go like, why, you know, you want to put your finger naturally, that's your human instinct, at someone else. I'm not working because of this, and that. But the minute I started taking responsibility and going, no, I need to work harder, I need to do this, I need to go to acting class, is the minute I started working again. You know, and I've actually made more movies as an adult than I have as a kid, which was a cool threshold to pass. It was like a kind of cool mental barrier for me. But yeah, none of them have hit the public consciousness the way stuff I did in the past did. But like, whatever. I'm having an amazing time. I get to adventure and play all day. And I know for me, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, so it's, first of all, it's an honor to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you. My name is Jeremy. I'm a high school teacher. I also taught in elementary, and I work with students. I'm going to use this video, and it's about perseverance. So I'd like you to deliver a little message about perseverance, because you come from a tough world when it comes to rejection and whatnot. And also, I want to also incorporate jiu-jitsu into this, because I roll myself, and you know that it builds grit. And, and I want you to explain how that it creates character in you. Okay. And also, would you take on CM Punk?
I'm gonna move aside for this
okay,
one.
So three things. So the first thing, and this goes really for anything, if you want something in life that a lot of other people want, then you have to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do, whether that's working longer hours, whether that's working smart and knowing when it's time to rest so that you can work smart. Anything worth doing in life is going to be difficult, and I think that sometimes we forget that. We see people who seemingly it comes easy to, but even behind that, behind every, you know, quote, overnight success, there's 10 years of hard work plus, you know, and I think that with what acting, with perseverance, with acting has taught me, and I think this goes for most, you know, goals in life, is just don't have a 0 day. Don't have a day where you do nothing. Every day should be a step forward, even if it's the tiniest step forward. The tiniest step forward, you're improving 0.0000001%. That's not a 0 day, which is great. You need to improve and at least make every day count. And I think that's one of the big things I've noticed, and I noticed a lot of it. You know, there's a really great book actually for if you're interested in it. It's called The War of Art, and it talks about they call it resistance. And for me, I just have to make a mental note of that every day. I wake up, I'm like, the resistance is telling me to sleep 10 more minutes, but I got stuff to do. I got stuff to study, and everything worth doing is difficult. So you just have to remind yourself what's ahead of you and what you can accomplish. I mean, you can have a comfortable life and then go, you know, it's great and all this, but I never really achieved what I wanted to. And the only way to do that is to step forward every day. And sometimes it's really hard, you know, sometimes you get down in the dumps and things aren't coming as fast, you know, as you want them to. But, you know, if you keep in a steady direction, consistency, effort, time put in, things happen. You know, I gave myself a year off, I was gonna go to college. And I think college is amazing for most, you know, situations in the world, and also for acting, and there's some great programs. But for me, I was like, I wanna take a year off just to see what happens. And I was just hitting the auditions hard, hitting class hard, treating class as college. You know, even though I wasn't going to college, I was paying double to take twice the courses that everyone else was taking. And rehearsing every day for hours. And nothing was happening, nothing. The end of the year, right before I was time to make my decision to go to college, I booked a movie. It ended up being such a great experience. I fell in love with acting again, and I realized, you know what, it's all right if it doesn't come easy, and it's all right if it takes time. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are pursuing and you're in the act of doing, then you're never a loser, and you're never a failure. Because the only times I've ever really, you know, had a huge success is after I failed. I didn't originally get Jerry McGuire. Stuart Little, the studio turned me down because I auditioned for The Boys and the Mouse, and the director said he wanted to see me on screen. And they said, no. They're like, he's 8. We wrote this for a 12-year-old. And the director said, 8-year-old talking to a mouse cute, 12-year-old creepy. And so they gave me a screen test, and I prepared so hard for that screen test. At 8 years old, I was putting in effort, you know, or 7 years old, and worked on it with my mom, and I went in there and I let it rip, and they gave me the role. And I think that it's just about keeping these, mostly, and sorry I'm a little tired, but it's about keeping most of these things in your mind all the time. Like, okay, that's just my resistance speaking. Whenever you don't want to do something, when it comes to what you ultimately want to achieve, most likely it's something you should be doing. If it scares you a little, you might be onto something. You know, it's definitely, fear is a form of resistance. And then also, sorry, there's a long